Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, text 20. Iti guhya tamam shastram.
इति गुह्यतम शास्त्रम
Idam uktam maya naga.
इदम उक्तम मया अनंध
Etad udva buddhiman syat.
एतत् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमानस्य यात्
Krita krityascha bharata.
कृतकृत्याश्च भारत। हे अनघ, यह वैदिक शास्त्रों का सर्वाधिक गुप्त अंश है जिसे मैंने अब प्रकट किया है। जो कोई इसे समझता है वह बुद्धिमान हो जाएगा और उसके प्रयास पूर्ण होंगे। भगवान ने यहाँ स्पष्ट किया है कि यही सारे शास्त्रों का सार है और भगवान ने इसे जिस रूप से कहा है उसे उसी रूप में समझा जाना चाहिए। इस तरह मनुष्य बुद्धिमान तथा दिव्य ज्ञान में पूर्ण हो जाएगा। दूसरे शब्दों में, भगवान के इस दर्शन को समझने तथा उनकी दिव्य सेवा में प्रवृत्त होने से प्रत्येक व्यक्ति प्रकृति के गुणों के समस्त कल्मश से मुक्त हो जा सकता है। भक्ति आध्यात्मिक ज्ञान की एक विधि है। जहां भी भक्ति होती है वहां भौतिक कल्मश नहीं रह सकता। भगवत भक्ति तथा स्वयं भगवान एक है क्योंकि दोनों आध्यात्मिक हैं। भक्ति परमेश्वर की अंतरंगा शक्ति के भीतर होती है। भगवान सूर्य के समान है और अज्ञान अंधकार है। जहां सूर्य विद्यमान है वहां अंधकार का प्रश्न ही नहीं उठता। अतः जब भी प्रामाणिक गुरु के मार्गदर्शन के अंतर्गत भक्ति की जाती है तो अज्ञान का प्रश्न ही नहीं उठता। प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को चाहिए कि इस कृष्ण भावना अमृत को ग्रहण करे और बुद्धिमान तथा शुद्ध बनने के लिए भक्ति करे। जब तक कोई कृष्ण को इस प्रकार नहीं समझता और भक्ति में प्रवृत्त नहीं होता, तब तक सामान्य मनुष्य की दृष्टि में कोई कितना बुद्धिमान क्यों न हो, वह पूर्णतया बुद्धिमान नहीं है। जिस अनघ शब्द से अर्जुन को संबोधित किया गया है वह सार्थक है। अनघ अर्थात हे निष्पाप का अर्थ है कि जब तक मनुष्य समस्त पाप कर्मों से मुक्त नहीं हो जाता, तब तक कृष्ण को समझ पाना कठिन है। उसे समस्त कल्मश, समस्त पाप कर्मों से मुक्त होना होता है, तभी वह समझ सकता है। लेकिन भक्ति इतनी शुद्ध तथा शक्तिमान होती है कि वह एक भक्ति में प्रवृत्त होने पर मनुष्य स्वतः निष्पाप हो जाता है। शुद्ध भक्तों की संगति में रहकर पूर्ण कृष्ण भावना अमृत से भक्ति करते हुए कुछ बातों को बिल्कुल ही दूर कर देना चाहिए। सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात जिस पर विजय पानी है वह है हृदय की दुर्बलता। पहला पतन प्रकृति में पर प्रभुत्व जताने की इच्छा के कारण होता है। इस तरह मनुष्य भगवान की दिव्य प्रेम भक्ति को त्याग देता है। दूसरी हृदय की दुर्बलता है कि जब कोई अधिकाधिक प्रभुत्व जताने की इच्छा करता है तो वह भौतिक पदार्थ के स्वामित्व के प्रति आसक्त हो जाता है। इस संसार की सारी समस्याएं इन्हीं हृदय की दुर्बलताओं के कारण है। इस अध्याय के प्रथम 5 श्लोकों में हृदय की इन्हीं दुर्बलताओं से अपने को मुक्त करने की विधि का वर्णन हुआ है और 6ठे श्लोक में अंतिम श्लोक तक पुरुषोत्तम योग की विवेचना की हुई है। इस प्रकार श्रीमद् भगवद गीता के 15वें अध्याय पुरुषोत्तम योग का भक्ति वेदांत तात्पर्य पूर्ण हुआ।
Here Krishna is saying that he's giving us the essence of the Vedas. Krishna said, Vedascha sarvar aham eva vedya. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. So what is the essence of all the Vedas? If we can come to understand Krishna, engage in devotional service, and then one becomes intelligent. Now we may think intelligence means material intelligence. Sure, that is needed, material intelligence, to be able to, operate in the material world. But the real intelligence is when one takes up Krishna consciousness. Bhagavatam also says that those who are intelligent in the age of Kali will worship Lord Krishna, who is coming as Lord Chaitanya with the Sankirtan Yagya. Means taking up this chanting of Hare Krishna, taking up Krishna consciousness. That is a sign of intelligence. Because then one can understand, oh, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. So let me engage in the eternal activity of the soul, that is devotional service. So Prabhupada is also pointing out that when one engages in devotional service, then all the dirty things in our heart, they go away. As we say that a gold ring, it falls in the sewer, then it gets covered by all this dirty things. Then we have to wash it. We have to clean it. And then again, the gold will shine. We can see the gold properly. Otherwise, it's all dark and all full of not good things. Similarly, our consciousness, original consciousness is Krishna consciousness. But right now, because we are in the material world, it's become dirty, contaminated with a lot of material desires, lust, greed, envy, pride. So when one engages in devotional service, then gradually, all these things get removed from our consciousness. Our real consciousness can again be revived because the dirt will be removed. So devotional service to Krishna is on the spiritual platform. It's the eternal activity of the soul. It's under the protection of internal energy, spiritual energy. The material activities are under the protection of material energy. Spiritual activities are under protection of internal energy, spiritual energy. Srila Prabhupada is also given the example of the sun when the sunrise. For example, it was dark here a few hours ago. And then the sun rises. So in the dark, you can't see anything. But when the sun rises, then we can see everything clearly. We can see ourselves, we can see what's around us, we can see the sun itself. Similarly, when we are in ignorance, we can't understand. We can't understand ourselves, we can't understand this world. But when we take up Krishna consciousness, devotional service, under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, then we get this causeless knowledge. Causeless knowledge. As Prabhupada is saying, there is no question of ignorance then. So Srila Prabhupada is saying everyone must take this Krishna consciousness, take up this Krishna consciousness, engage in devotional service, and in this way become intelligent and purified. Srila Prabhupada, he is compassionate for each and every one of us. He wants each and every one of us to understand that we are not the body, we are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. We have a loving relationship with Krishna, and that we need to go back home, back to Godhead. So he's encouraging each and every one of us to take up Krishna consciousness, to engage in devotional service, and go back home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada is saying that until one comes to this one takes up devotional service, then one is not actually intelligent. Taking up devotional service is a sign of great intelligence, because then one is understanding, oh, I am, the spirit soul. So let me engage in devotional service. So that is a sign of great intelligence. Then you have Prabhupada is speaking of sinful reactions, sinful activities. So we have to get free of this sinful activities. Then how can we get free from sinful activities? Take up devotional service. Devotional service is taking away all the dirty things from the heart, we said. It frees us from all material contamination. So it also takes all our sinful reactions, it takes away all our desire to commit sin. That is the potency of devotional service. Devotional service begins by hearing about Krishna from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And of course, giving up, following the four regulative principles. The four regulative principles which are given to us. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. So in that way, then one can come to understand Krishna. Krishna is saying, try to understand me. Krishna is saying, understand that my form, my appearance is transcendental and no need to take birth again in the material world. So we are trying to understand so many things in this material world. Why did this one did this? Why did that one do that? We put so much of our time and energy in it. If we can try to understand Krishna, why Krishna made this material world, how the material world is acting, if we try to understand these things, why am I here in the material world? Then we can try to understand Krishna's pastimes gradually. Oh, why, how come Krishna acted like this? Why did he close his eyes in this situation? Gradually, the more we can understand Krishna, the more we are becoming purified. We are being situated in our original consciousness. So, and Prabhupada is speaking that when one is engaging in devotional service, one has to surmount weakness of the heart. Weakness of the heart is, the first is desire to control this material nature. We have this desire to be the controller. So we have to, because we want to control this material nature, we are not engaging in devotional service. And then the second weakness of the heart is because we want to control this material nature, we get attached. We get attached to matter. We want to own. We say, this is mine, this is mine. So it's coming from weakness of the heart. And Prabhupada is saying we have to give this up. We have to overcome this weakness of the heart. And the first 5 verses are describing the process of freeing oneself from the weakness of the heart. So the first 5 and the 6th to the 20th verse, that is Purushottam Yoga. So the first 5 verses which enable one to give up the weakness of the heart. We can quickly read the translation. Next one, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the 3 modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So Prabhupada said these 5 verses, they are how we can give up the weakness of the heart, detachment and surrender. That understanding this material world is just but a reflection of the spiritual world, and understanding that everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. So engaging in devotional service. The more we engage in devotional service, the more we are surrendering to God, the more we will be detached from the material world. So constant hearing and chanting helps us. This. So that brings us to the end of the 15th chapter of the Yoga of the Supreme Person, and we can begin chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagwan Uvacha.
Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi.
Abhayam Sattva Samsuddhir.
Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti.
Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti.
Dhanam Tamascha Yagyascha.
Dhanam Damascha Yajnascha.
Swadhyaya Stapa Arjavam.
Swadhaya Tapa Arjavam.
Ahimsa Satyam Akrodhas.
Ahimsa Satyam Akrodhas.
Tyaga Shantir Apaishunam.
Tyaga Santir Apaisunam.
Daya Bhuteshva Aluptvam.
Daya Bhuteshva Aluptvam.
Mardavam Hrir Achapalam.
Mardavam Rir Achapalam.
Teja Shamadriti Shaucham.
Tesha Shamadrit Saucham.
Adroho Nati Manita.
Adroho Nati Manita.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
Abhijatasya Bharata.
Abhijatasya Bharata.
You'll read?
Yeah, I can read. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion of honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Purport. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter, also the Devas or godly and the Asuras the ungodly or demons were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation and such activities are known as Devi Prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In the 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities and the demoniac nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. The word abhijatasya, in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known at the Vedic scriptures as Gar- Garbhadana Samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for the social life of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. A good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned, provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. The social institution known as Varnashrama Dharma, the institution dividing society into four divisions of social life and four occupational divisions or castes, it's not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberated from the material world. In the Varnasrama institution, the sannyasi or the person in the renounced order of life is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the three other sections of the society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness, because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks, after I leave my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in its localized aspect as Paramatma, is always within. That he is seeing everything and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna, as Paramatma, will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in renounced order of life. Then he has to purify his existence. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They were advised to go down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it's a stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connections with women. One has to follow the rules and regulations of a particular status of life in order to purify the existence. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possession of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyasa order of life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, namely Chota Haridasa, was associated with Lord Chaitanya along with his other confidential personal associates. But somehow or other, this Chota Haridasa looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associate. Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi or anyone who's aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead for him, looking towards material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. So these are the processes for purification. The next item is Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Sannyasi life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood, but this does not mean that he is a beggar. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person, and out of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he is actually advanced and so ordered by his spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi or one in the renounced order of life must be situated in fearlessness, sattva, samsuddhi, purity, and gyan yoga knowledge. The next item is charity.
Let's try.
Charity.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah,
Sorry?
you can read. No, yeah, read, then we'll speak about it at one time. Okay, please continue.
Okay. The next item is charity. Charity is meant for the householder. The householder should earn a livelihood by an honorable means and spend 50% of their income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. Thus, a householder should give in charity to institutional societies that are engaged in that way. Charity should be given to the right receiver. There are different kinds of charity, as will be explained later on. Charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Charity in the mode of goodness is recommended by the scriptures, but charity in the mode of passion and ignorance is not recommended because it is simply a waste of money. Charity should be given only to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is charity in the mode of goodness. Then, as far as Dharma, self control, is concerned, it is not only meant for other orders of religious society, but especially meant for the householder. Although he has a wife, a householder should not use his senses for sex life unnecessarily. These are restrictions for the householders, even in sex life, which should only be engaged in for the propagation of children. If he does not require children, he should not enjoy sex life with his wife. Modern society enjoys sex life with contraceptive methods or more abominable methods to avoid the responsibility of children. This is not in the transcendental quality, but is demoniac. If anyone, even if he is a householder, wants to make progress in spiritual life, he must control his sex life and should not beget a child without the purpose of serving Krishna. If he is able to beget children who will be in Krishna consciousness, one can produce hundreds of children, but without this capacity, one should not even indulge only for sense pleasure. Sacrifice is another item to be performed by the householders because sacrifices require a large amount of money. Those in other orders of life, namely Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa, have no mercy. They live by begging. The performance of different types of sacrifice is meant for the householders. They should perform Agni Hotra sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literature, but such sacrifices at the present moment are very expensive and it's not possible for any householder to perform them. The best sacrifice recommended in this age is called the Sankirtana Yagna. The Sankirtana Yagna, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adapt it and derive benefits. So these three items, namely charity, sense control, and performance of sacrifice, are meant for the householder. The Swadhyaya Vedic study is meant for brahmacharya or student life. Brahmachari should have no connection with women. They should have a life of celibacy and engage the mind in the study of Vedic literature for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is called Swadhyaya. Tapos or tapas or austerity is especially meant for the retired life. One should not remain a householder throughout his whole life. He must always remember that there are four divisions of life: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. So, after grihastha, householder life, one should retire. If one lives for 100 years, he should spend 25 years in student life, 25 in a householder life, 25 in retired life, and 25 in the renounced order of life. These are the regulations of the Vedic religious discipline. A man retired from household life must practice austerities of the body, mind, and tongue. This is called tapasya. The entire Varnasrama Dharma society is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. The theory that there is no need of austerity in life, that one can go on speculating and everything will be nice, is recommended neither in the Vedic literature nor in the Bhagavad Gita. Such theories are manufactured by show bottle spiritualists who are trying to gather more followers. If there there are restrictions, rules, and regulations, people will not become attracted. Therefore, those who want followers in the name of religion, just to have a show only, don't restrict the lives of their students, nor their own lives. But that method is not approved by the Vedas. As far as the Brahmanical quality of simplicity is concerned, not only should a particular order of life follow this principle, but every member, be he in the Brahmachari ashrama, Grihastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, or Sannyasa ashrama, one should be very simple and straightforward. Ahimsa means not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. One should not think that since the spirit spark is never killed even after the killing of the body, there's no harm in killing animals for self gratification. People are now addicted to eating animals in spite of having an ample supply.
Sorry, 1 minute. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are now addicted to eating animals in spite of having an ample supply of grains, fruits, and milk. There's no necessity for animal killing. This injunction is for everyone. When there is no alternative, one may kill an animal, but it should be offered in sacrifice. At any rate, when there is an ample food supply for humanity, persons who are desiring to make advancement in spiritual realization should not commit violence to animals. Real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. The animals are also making progress in their evolutionary life. The animals also in life by transmigrating from one category of animal life to another. If a particular animal is killed, then his progress is checked. If an animal is staying in a particular body for so many days or so many years and untimely killed, then he has to come back again in the form of life to complete the remaining days in order to be promoted to another species of life. So their progress should not be checked simply to satisfy one's palate. This is called ahimsa. Satyam. The word means that one should not distort the truth for some personal interest. In Vedic literature, there are some difficult passages. For the meaning or the purpose should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. That is the process for understanding the Vedas. Shruti means that one should hear from the authority. One should not construe some interpretation for the personal interest. There are so many commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita that misinterpret the original text. The real import of the word should be presented and that should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. Akrodha means to check anger. Even if there is a provocation, one should not be tolerant. One should be tolerant. For once one becomes angry, his whole body becomes polluted. Anger is a product of the mode of passion and lust. So one who is transcendentally situated should check himself from anger. Apaisuna means that one should not find fault with others or correct them unnecessarily. Of course, to call a thief is not fault finding, but to call an honest person a thief is very much offensive for one who is making advancement in spiritual life. Hri means that one should be very modest and must not perform some act which is abominable. Akapalam determination means that one should not be agitated or frustrated in some attempt. There may be failure in some attempt, but one should not be sorry for that. He should make progress with patience and determination. The word tejas used here is meant for the Kshatriya. The Kshatriya should always be very strong to be able to give protection to the weak. They should not pose themselves as non-violent. If violence is required, then they must exhibit it. But a person who's able to curb down his enemy may, under certain conditions, show forgiveness for he may show violence. The person who is able to curb down his enemy may, under certain conditions, show forgiveness. He may excuse minor offenses. Saukam means cleanliness, not only in mind and body, but in one's dealings also. It is especially meant for the mercantile people who should not deal in the black market. Nati Manita, not expecting honor, applies to the Shudras, the worker class, which are considered according to Vedic injunctions to be the lowest of the four classes. They should not be puffed up with unnecessary prestige or honor and should remain in their own status. It is the duty of the Shudras to offer respect to the higher class for the upkeep of the social order. All these 26 qualifications mentioned are transcendental qualities. They should be cultivated according to the different states of social and occupational order. The purport is that even though material conditions are miserable, if these qualities are developed by practice by all classes of men, then gradually it is possible to rise to the highest platform of transcendental realization.
So the 26 qualities here Krishna is speaking about. And he's saying that these qualities belong to the one who are in divine nature. Krishna is speaking about the divine and demoniac qualities. And so we are encouraged to cultivate this kind of qualities. The divine qualities, and to give up our demoniac qualities. So then Prabhupada starts explaining that first beginning with the Garbhadhan Samskar. He's saying especially people who are in the Krishna consciousness movement should follow this Garbhadhan Samskar, like when before planning to have a child, then both the mother and the to-be mother and to-be father, they chant 50 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra, then they unite to have a child and bringing up the child in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada saying at least that should be the advantage of being born to a father and mother who's Krishna conscious. Then the Varnashrama Dharma, the Varnashrama society is made by Krishna himself. Krishna says in 4th chapter, Guna Karma Vibhagasa. It is divided according to one's nature. It's not according to one's birth. They're according to one's nature, one's qualities. So that people can be peaceful, work according to the quality, according to the nature, cultivate spiritual advancement, and at the end of life, go back home, back to Godhead. So the sannyasi, of course, is called the spiritual leader of the society because he's the one this is Varnashrama society. We don't have this kind of Vedic system anymore, but kind of. Varnashrama is also, it's natural because each of us have certain qualities. We work based on those qualities. So even though it's not formal, there is some sort of following of Varnashrama. So the sannyasi is known to be the spiritual master of the society. He's supposed to be the one guiding the society. The leaders are meant to take guidance from the sannyasi, who's a devotee of God. Not that one just changes their clothes to saffron for some personal agenda, but to dedicate themselves to service of God, preaching others about Krishna consciousness. So fearlessness, depending on the mercy of God, one of the qualities that the sannyasi should have, depend on the mercy of God, depending on mercy of Krishna, fully convinced that Krishna is the one who's protecting me. Krishna is taking care of me. I shall never be alone. Krishna will protect me. Krishna is the Paramatma in my heart. So this fearlessness, Prabhupada is saying, is one of the qualities of the sannyasis. They're fully dependent on Krishna. And then they have to follow certain rules and regulations, no illicit connections with women. And Lord Chaitanya set an example that one of his followers was just looked at a woman, and Lord Chaitanya took him out, told him, you leave my association, just to set a standard, that not to have, to set a standard for us. Because someone may be in the dress of a sannyasi but may have connections with women, but that is not what do you say, recommended. It's in fact looked down on. So sannyas life is meant to give knowledge to householders. The sannyasi goes from one house to another, not for his own benefit, but to give Krishna consciousness. He's being humble, he's begging, as to say, but this begging is for the benefit of the grahasthas. Because we just heard that the sannyasi, he's fearless, he's depending on mercy of Krishna. He knows Krishna will protect me, Krishna will provide for me. So, but he's the sannyasi, the devotee. He's going from door to door to awaken our Krishna consciousness, to give us this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is saying fearlessness, sattva samshuddhi, and jnana yoga knowledge is specifically meant for the sannyasi, the renounced order. Charity for the householder, because it's the householders who are They are making the income, they're making the money. The brahmachari, the sannyasi, the vanaprasth, they don't have income. They're not making money, but the grihastha is making. So it's the duty of the grihastha to support the other three sections of society. So charity should be given in the mode of to Krishna consciousness movement. There are different types of charity. We are going to hear charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. But charity should be given to the Krishna consciousness movement. That is the perfection of charity. Because then it is going to propagate, it's going to, with this charity, others are being helped also to revive their Krishna consciousness. Self-control. So although the grihast life, there is facility for sense enjoyment. One should not, one should use this facility with caution, not overdo it. Use this facility with responsibility. Have Krishna conscious children. Sacrifice. Sacrifice is also meant for householders, because usually when there is a big sacrifice held, big function is held, money is required. And so that, as we just said, the grihas, they are the only one with the income, the other three sections don't have it. So sacrifice also becomes a responsibility of the grihas. In this Kali Yuga, the sacrifice that is actually recommended is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And there is no expense for that. Most inexpensive sacrifice, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is a sacrifice. Then Vedic studying the Vedas is meant for the brahmacharis to cultivate knowledge. Austerity is for the vanaprasth. Vanaprasth means retiring from active family life. Now, vanaprasth, we in Kali Yuga, we actually can't go to the forest. But what we can do is take up spiritual life, take up more of the spiritual activities, do some service in the Krishna conscious temples. Yeah. So doing more hearing and chanting in this way, one can take up more spiritual activities. Simplicity. One should be very simple and straightforward. It's a Brahmanical quality also. Everyone should try to be simple and straightforward. Ahimsa. Ahimsa means, as Prabhupada is saying, not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. It's not that we think, oh, anyway, the soul never dies, so let me just kill anyone. No, but like this, we are checking the evolution. There is a natural evolutionary process where the animal gives up one body, takes up a higher body, gives up one, takes up a higher. But unnecessary killing of animals is restricting their progression, and that is violence. So Prabhupada is pointing out there is ample food supply. There is ample food, grains, milk, vegetables, and there's no need to kill the animals for food. So, and Prabhupada is saying if the animal is killed untimely, then that animal has to again take that form of the same animal. Again, he has to complete the term that was meant for him to be in that life. So his progress to another higher being is being checked. And so we are being violent. And we should not do this violence. Ahimsa. Satyam, speaking the truth as it is. Hear the truth from the authority, the truth of hearing about spiritual matters, hearing them from the authority, not misinterpreting the truth, hearing Bhagavad Gita as it is, not making some kind of a meaning or kind of a personal agenda from speaking or from the Bhagavad Gita, but it should be to glorify Krishna. As Krishna spoke it, as Arjuna understood it. That is the way to present the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. And that's the reason Bhagavad Gita should be heard from a pure devotee. But from a devotee who's coming in the disciplic succession. So, this is how we are hearing Bhagavad Gita from Srila Prabhupada. He's a pure devotee. Akrodha means check anger. We become angry, but we need to learn tolerance. Anger is when we have certain desire and then that desire is not fulfilled, then we get angry. So we should try to control our anger. Krishna says that anger is one of the gates leading to hell. And fault finding, not finding fault unnecessarily. Of course, calling a spade is not fault finding, but calling, like as Prabhupada is saying, calling a thief is not fault finding, but calling an honest man a thief is fault finding. So that's offensive. So we should avoid that fault finding. And so avoiding anger, being tolerant, being determined. Determination is one of the qualities, even Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Instruction, that we need to have determination in our spiritual life. Be determined that we have to chant our rounds, we have to do our reading. Determination. We have determination for everything, even in our material duties. So Tejas meant for Kshatriyas to protect, giving protection to others. Prabhupada is pointing out non-violence is not for the Kshatriyas because they have to protect. Each class has to do their duty. So it's the duty of the Kshatriyas to protect, so they should not pose as unnecessary, imitating non-violence. Cleanliness. Cleanliness should be in work. Prabhupada is saying, especially for the mercantile, for the business community. Cleanliness, not only in mind and body, but also in the way we deal with one another. And then also not expecting honor from others. Because we may think, oh, I need to get certain honor. So this is specifically applies to the Shudras, not wanting unnecessary. What is necessary, that gets. But unnecessary, one should not aspire. And we should remain in our own status. So Prabhupada is saying these qualities should be cultivated according to different statuses of social and occupational order. We need to develop these qualities. And one who is engaged in devotional service, we see that they have these qualities. The pure devotee has all these qualities. So the more we engage in Krishna consciousness, the more we hear and chant, the more we will be able to cultivate these qualities. Are there any comments or questions? Seems like not. So let's stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.